Hello, everyone. This is Armstrong Williams on the right side. Armstrong. Don't curse, speak English. Armstrong. Virtuous society. Armstrong. I dare you to listen. Hey, turn it up. Hey. Armstrong. Get on the right side. Armstrong. Elevate your mind. Armstrong. I'm Armstrong Williams on the right side. Armstrong. Yo, man, it's your boy K.O. And you're tuned into the most conservative of our brothers. The Armstrong Williams Show. Please give me a break. Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Armstrong Williams Show. Dr. Carson, how are you today?
I'm doing very well, thank you.
So, Dr. Carson, we're in the fall of the year. Obviously, we can tell the weather is changing. It feels a little wintry. What should people do about the flu shots, about allergies, and what should we do in terms of our health concerns and making sure that our bodies are properly acclimated and well prepared for the change in the seasons?
Well, make sure you get your flu shot. That's number one.
Wait a minute. You started out with flu shot. There are pros and cons with the flu shot. Some people say when they take that flu shot, they find themselves getting a worse cold. Is there any truth to that? Just give us, from your, incredible experience on the flu shot, why do you think it's a good thing?
Well, I will tell you that at our hospital, if you're going to have patient contact, you're required to get the flu shot. And this is based on very hard science and empirical data. So, a lot of people base what they do on, anecdotes and stories that people tell. But, it should be based on scientific studies on looking at large numbers of people who've had flu shots, who've not had flu shots, who've been exposed during flu season, and it shows that the ones who get flu shots have substantially less disease, substantially less morbidity. So does an occasional person get a reaction? Does an occasional person have something, more serious? Yes. But you have to look at the overall picture. Does an occasional person get in an accident when driving their car? Yes. Does that mean you should stop driving? Probably not.
Wow. Well, I have to say, from my own personal experiences, it has certainly been helpful and beneficial to me. Dr. Carson, are they making any advances toward a cure for AIDS, which we know they've been working in the laboratory for such a long time?
Well, AIDS is a very different disease now than it was 20 years ago, in the sense that, there are multiple drugs that can, dampen the effect. If somebody gets treated early and appropriately, you take somebody like Magic Johnson, who's had it for over 20 years and is thriving. The disease has not been eradicated in his body, but it is under control. So, we've gone from a devastating, life-ending disease to one that is controllable at this point. And the next stage, of course, will be the ability to eradicate it. And we're learning a lot more about the disease at the molecular level. So, it's just a matter of time at this point.
What about progress in breast cancer and prostate cancer?
Again, significant progress, in both of those areas. Unfortunately, they still tend to be a fairly substantial problem. A lot of people still dying from them. In many cases, it's because the disease is caught late. And you need to emphasize the fact that women need to make sure that they learn the art of self-examination of the breast. Men need to make sure they get their annual physical exam, including the digital rectal exam. Some people say, just skip that part. Don't skip any part. Make sure you get your blood work done. That is the most essential part of being able to get those diseases under control. Yes, we are making progress in the laboratory. We're coming up with better drug treatments, but ultimately, the treatment, again, is going to be at the molecular genetic level. And great understanding in those areas offers a lot of promise.
Dr. Carson, how much will health care for patients, the relationship between patients and hospitals, how much will hospitals be impacted when the Affordable Health Care Act really began to take effect come January 1st, 2013?
Well, actually, parts of the Affordable Care Act are starting before that. In fact, one part of it starts today. Starting today, hospitals can be fined up to $125,000 per infant if patients return to the hospital too frequently or too often.
Could you repeat that again? What did you just say?
If patients return to the hospital after treatment too frequently or too soon, hospitals can be fined that are taking care of Medicare patients. Now, what the implication of that is, ultimately, what the purpose of it, supposedly you're going to treat the patients much better because you want to make sure that they don't return, as if there are people out there who aren't doing that. I don't think there are very many people out there who are not doing that. But the fact of the matter is, people are going to shy away from those patients who have complex problems that are likely to result in multiple admissions. So those people are actually going to have a harder time getting somebody to accept them and to take care of them. It really is not the correct way to do it. There are much better ways to take care of people than that.
What would you have recommended as a better way of taking care of people?
Well, what I would do is focus on the disease process, whatever it is that they have, and look at the individual and try to tailor the treatment to that specific individual rather than to a group of individuals. And then what I would do is, instead of penalizing hospitals for people returning, I would reward them for extremely effective treatment and a low number of complications and a lower number of returns based on the complexity of that patient's problems. So a person who has an extremely complex problem would get a different weighting score than a person who has a relatively simple problem, because you have to compare apples with apples. And that way, you will eliminate the incentive for people to cherry pick the patients, and everybody can get appropriate care.
What about end-of-life care, where the bulk of health care costs goes? What changes will impact that?
Well, what we need to do, it isn't really addressed, very well in any proposals right now. And this is going to require a real philosophical change. Because, right now, no one has any incentive, not to keep poking and prodding people and sticking them in intensive care units until they render up their last breath, which I think is torture, quite frankly. But if you talk about it, then people start talking about death panels and all kinds of stuff, and they throw too much emotion into it. So what needs to be done is people need to have health savings accounts that are transferable, so that when somebody is 85 years old and they've got 6 different diseases and they have, $300,000 in their health savings account, instead of trying to use it all up, they say, you know what? I just want to be kept comfortable. Let that HSA go to my daughter or my son or my grandson or my granddaughter. I think that's a much smarter way to do things, and that has many implications for all kinds of savings, not only at end of life.
How does one deal with, Dr. Carson, the change in medical organizations and the erosion of trust, and in that process preserving the physical patient relationship in this era that we find ourselves?
Well, the only way that you're really going to preserve or enhance the relationship between patients and providers is to get rid of the middle people. And that's the biggest problem that we have. You need for good health care. You need a patient and you need a health care provider. Along has come the middleman to facilitate the relationship, and instead of facilitating it, has become the main entity, which then dictates to the patients and the health care providers and takes out the lion's share of profits. That doesn't make any sense. So as long as you're building your system around something that doesn't make any sense, you're not going to make much progress.
I've written recently about medical technology. I find the topic to be very fascinating. And I've sort of concluded that medical technology is valuable if the benefits of medical advances exceed the cost. Your thoughts?
Well, medical technology is wonderful in general. I look at my specialty, neurosurgery. It's a different specialty than when I entered a few decades ago because of the technological advances. Another couple of decades from now, it will be very different than it is now because of those technological advances. Those are wonderful things. Are they costly? Yeah. But do they, in the long run, for the most part, save more than they cost? Absolutely. But, like with anything else, we have to put on our analytical hat.
Doctor, just hold there. We're coming back. It's a brief break. Armstrong Williams, the director of pediatric neurosurgery at Johns Hopkins University, Dr. Ben Carson, is joining us. We'll be back.
For more information on the Armstrong Williams Show, please visit our new website at www.rightsidewire.com. There you can find his syndicated column archive, view live streams, and get your favorite conservative pundits' views on the current issues affecting the American people. From building wealth to foreign policy, stay connected with Armstrong Williams and his colleagues at the all-new www.rightsidewire.com.
High Point University has experienced unprecedented growth during the worst economic disruption in decades. This growth is driven by a university that focuses on holistic education, on experiential learning, and on values-based living. At High Point University, every student receives an extraordinary education in an inspiring environment with caring people. See what makes High Point University extraordinary at highpoint.edu.
Anderson Brothers Bank, a family-owned and operated establishment that blends traditional personal service, local market awareness, and advanced technology to meet the financial needs of its customers. Visit abbank.com or call 843-464-6271 to see how they can assist you with your banking needs. Anderson Brothers Bank, celebrating 75 years of community banking, the way it should be. Stability right in your backyard since 1933. Join the millions of Americans who pursue one of our country's finest traditions, from hunting to sports shooting. Since 1871, the NRA has grown as a service organization involved in all aspects of shooting sports and is a proud defender of the Bill of Rights. Join today to begin taking advantage of exclusive membership offers and discounts, including up to $25,000 in insurance coverage. Contact the NRA today. Call 1-800-672-3888 or visit nra.org.
Life is full of unexpected changes. Everyone has potential to do wrong. And when they choose to do it, contact the Bucksell Group for your private investigation needs. TheBucksellGroup.com or by phone at 202-243-9746. Whether there's an instance of a cheating spouse, child custody, process service, or security, don't continue suspecting. Get closure so that you can move on with your life. Visit TheBucksellGroup.com now or call 202-243-9746. If you think it's happening, it probably is.
Where heads of state, sports, entertainment, and political celebrities meet. You're listening to Armstrong Williams.
Welcome back with Dr. Ben Carson. Dr. Carson, it's a fact that when costs and benefits are weighed together, technological advances have proven to be worth far more than their cost. But it is also widely accepted that technological change has accounted for the bulk
of medical care cost increases over time?
Well, I'm not sure that it really has. There's a lot of factors involved there. When you look at cost, things like failure to pass tort reform cost enormous amounts of money. The inability to appropriately regulate, the cost of drugs, enormous amounts of money. The inefficiency in the system, different costs, different ways of being reimbursed, which generate enormous amounts of paperwork and large amounts of people to push that paperwork around. Those are the things that really are the huge, huge cost factors, as well as a lot of fraud, which is not really addressed in the system. When we look at those things, and then we look at technology and its cost, it kind of pales in significance.
What other areas of medicine and healthcare that we should pay close attention to, Dr. Carson, going forward?
Well, the key thing is that people need to recognize that they are personally responsible for their own health. No one else is responsible for it except for you. And that means you need to pay close attention to your diet, to exercise, to not putting harmful substances in your body, to not doing harmful activities, to getting appropriate sleep. If you're willing to do those kinds of things, you're going to do much more than any drug or any, medical program. And if we can get that point across to people, we will have achieved a lot.
Why is it that people don't understand that the most important health care is preventative care and don't exercise and diet and do things that are really in their control before it gets out of control?
Because we're an instant gratification society, and those things are long-term processes. We want a pill. We want something that somebody can rub on us. We want something real quick without investing the appropriate time and effort in it. And, of course, anyone with any wisdom knows that that is not the appropriate way to do things, both in terms of our health, in terms of our education, in terms of our preparation for life, for retirement, all kinds of things. These things are not done instantly. That's why we have these complex brains, which allow us to extract information from the past and the present and project them into a plan. That's why we're not animals who just sit around and react to everything, or at least we shouldn't be.
Listening to you, it is obvious that we have made incredible improvements in health since the 1950s, but you also insinuate that there are still a number of challenges, and I guess some that we will never resolve. Even when you deal with cardiovascular diseases, Dr. Carson, it's the number one group of conditioning causing death globally around the world, maybe not in the United States. And it's interesting that over almost 10 million children under the age of 5 die from malnutrition, and mostly preventable diseases each year. How do we spread the success of America around the globe to impact these lives?
Well, some attempts have been made already. The United States, has provided a lot of medical care to help try to get the AIDS epidemic under control, particularly in Africa, but in other places. And that is absolutely what we should be doing, should continue to do. But it's going to require a lot of effort. You have a lot of voluntary organizations. As a physician, I'm familiar with a large number of medical groups who at their own expense, travel all around the world, doing operations, taking care of very sick people, trying to, restore healthy water, helping people to grow crops. The number of philanthropic organizations in this country is absolutely mind-boggling. And we should be very proud of the fact that we have a lot of Americans who care enormously about other people. And let's continue to encourage people to do that. Let's not listen to people who tell us that we're evil and that we should all be fighting each other. And let's look at the good things and let's enhance those things.
You know what? It shocks me how malaria and the chicken pox, I mean, something that's very simple that we conquered ages ago, continues to be a major cause of death around the world.
Well, until we get rid of those mosquitoes, I think it's going to continue to be. Interestingly enough, you're talking about technology. There is a group out in Seattle, Innovative Solutions, who've created a machine that can hear the frequency of the wings of the mosquitoes that transmit this disease, can focus a laser on them and shoot them out of the sky instantly. I actually had a chance to go to the laboratory and witness this. It's really quite amazing. That kind of technology is going to help us enormously, but the cost has to be gotten down to the point where it can be utilized widely.
It's interesting when I think about my profession and how we even deal with healthcare in the media. It's there are so many other things that I could have discussed with you this morning, but I think you making such salient points. Instead of us trying to be the experts, we should find those who can really break it down and help people understand, because health information, Dr. Carson, is often sensationalized in the media with various promises of quick fixes and miracle cures, yet that is rarely reality. And how has it come to this?
Well, part of the problem is that we've turned, healthcare over to politicians. Our solutions to our problems are not all that complex. But when you put people in the driver's seat who don't really know what the problems are and therefore can't come up with the real solution, you're going to get a mess like we have. I hate to say it, but, part of it is the responsibility of the medical profession, who have withdrawn themselves significantly from public policy. There were 5 physicians who signed the Declaration of Independence. Physicians were involved with the Constitution, the Bill of Rights. We've withdrawn. We need to re-inject ourselves, get involved. We need, engineers, we need scientists involved in the political arena, people who've been trained to make decisions based on evidence and not on emotion and not on political philosophy. This is the information age. We need to begin to act that way.
Dr. Carson, in our modern world, with increasingly cheap, high-calorie food like fast food or junk food, prepared foods that are high in things like salt, sugars, or fat, combined with our increasingly sedentary lifestyles, increasing urbanization, and changing modes of transportation, is it no wonder that obesity has rapidly increased in the last few decades and around the world?
No question about it. And it goes back to what I was saying before. Appropriate diet, drinking adequate amounts of water, exercise, sleep, not putting harmful things into our bodies. That's a formula that works during any time and in any environment. And we need to go back. We need to emphasize that. Having said all that, and all the horrible things that have infiltrated our society, bear in mind that at the last turn of the century, from the 1800s to the 1900s, the average age of death was 47 years. Now we're approaching 80 years, despite all of those things that are going on. Can you imagine where we would be if we really led a healthy lifestyle and incorporated all the advances and the knowledge that we have now?
But one of the things I'd like for you to address, that environmental, societal, and lifestyle factors all have an impact on obesity and health, as you just mentioned. But while individuals are responsible for their choices, other factors, such as the food industry, are also part of the problem and solution. And unfortunately, Dr. Carson, the food industry appears reluctant to take too many measures that could affect their bottom line, preferring to solely blame individuals instead.
Which is one of the reasons that it's so good that people have choices. and they need to educate themselves in terms of the foods that they eat, in terms of what the fat content is, what the salt content is. There's a reason that food industries are required to put that information on the label. It's not just to fill up the space. It's so that you can look at it and you can make an intelligent choice. So, I never like to get into a situation where we blame somebody else. So, but one of the good things about living in a competitive society that we live in today, if people make unhealthy foods, you have a choice. You don't have to buy it. Pretty soon, they go out of business.
Wow. So healthy choices, obviously, and exercise.
Exactly.
Dr. Carson, how long have you been in the medical profession, and what are the changes that you've seen over the last 30 years?
Well, I got my MD in 1977, so 36 years. And
hold that part. We're going to come back to that. Hold on. Dr. Ben Carson is our guest. I'm Armstrong Williams. Don't go away.
For more information on the Armstrong-Williams Show, please visit our new website at www.RightSideWire.com. There you can find his syndicated column archive, view live streams, and get your favorite conservative pundits' views on the current issues affecting the American people. From building wealth to foreign policy, stay connected with Armstrong Williams and his colleagues at the all-new www.RightSideWire.com.
America must change course if we hope to survive and save the American dream for our children and grandchildren. How do we fix Social Security and Medicare? How do we cut government spending? How do we reform health care? How do we simplify the tax code? The Heritage Foundation has a bold plan that tackles these tough problems using common sense solutions that leave partisan politics on the sidelines. Find out how we can save the American dream at savingthedream.org, paid for by the Heritage Foundation.
Hi, this is Armstrong Williams with an opportunity to own a piece of paradise in Nassau, Bahamas. Spectacular land prices, 8,000 square feet, 20,000 square feet lot, affordable prices, hilltop properties with views of the magnificent sea. Just call 242-677-3120 or 3121 or go to info@rightsidewire.com and leave your information.
Does your school, team, church, or charity need a new fundraiser? Do you need to work out of your home or part-time? Are you a small business that can use an additional revenue stream? Then you need Yellow Llama. Do you need affordable web services or tools to enhance your existing business? Are you a graphic artist who wants to create a revenue stream with your art but not get ripped off? Then go to www.yellowllama.com.
Join the millions of Americans who pursue one of our country's finest traditions, from hunting to sport shooting. Since 1871, the NRA has grown as a service organization involved in all aspects of shooting sports and is a proud defender of the Bill of Rights. Join today to begin taking advantage of exclusive membership offers and discounts, including up to $25,000 in insurance coverage. Contact the NRA today. Call 1-800-672-3888 or visit nra.org.
Where heads of state, sports, entertainment, and political celebrities meet. You're listening to Armstrong Williams.
So we're talking about your longevity in the medical field and how much has it changed, Dr. Carson?
Well, it's changed a lot. Particularly our ability to understand diseases. Before we used to just sort of react to things without knowing specifically what we were doing. Now we understand a lot more about the disease process. A lot of the medications are now targeted specifically for the disease process and the thing that is causing the disease. The imaging capabilities have expanded enormously so that now we're actually able to see what we're doing rather than guessing what we're doing. And those kinds of things are advancing. Our ability to do minimally invasive surgery, to through an endoscope, something, less than the size of a pencil, to put it into the interior of the body, see what's going on, be able to manipulate things through little channels. All of those things have improved enormously. The use of robots, which allow a surgeon to do things extremely precisely and very quickly. All of that continues to advance. So medicine is a very exciting area. I would encourage some of the young people who might be listening to really consider this seriously as a career.
Do you still get as much joy from it today as when you first started?
Absolutely, because the joy comes from being able to intervene in people's lives and return them in an enhanced fashion, to give them longevity and quality of life. It's a great privilege to be able to do that. And, it doesn't make us better than anybody else. It makes us more privileged than anybody else.
Given that everything has a start and everything has, well, I won't say an end, I will say a retirement. Do you have the possibility to ever cross your mind that you will retire and leave this profession someday?
Absolutely. I will be retiring. There's no question about that. In the not too distant future. But I'll certainly retire from picking up the scalpel. But I don't think I'll ever retire, from teaching and for interacting with my colleagues in the medical profession.
So medicine will always be a part of your life?
Absolutely. It's something that grabbed me when I was 8 years old, and I don't think it will ever release me, and I don't want it to.
Are you surprised at just the blessings that has been upon your life and the number of lives that you've touched around the world? Do you ever sit and think about it? Have you ever thought about just writing a book about that, your gifted hands and the lives that you've touched?
Well, actually, I have written about it in several different books, but, it gets me all the time because I've operated on so many people now that virtually everywhere I go, not only in this country but throughout the world, people come up to me and they say, "You operated on my nephew, you operated on my niece, or my mother, or my grandmother, or somebody." It's just, and they're so grateful and they're so happy. And again, it just helps me to recognize that I'm very fortunate that God has chosen to give me that talent and to use me in that way. But not even for one moment, with all the accolades and awards, do I believe it is just me. I believe it is the power of God that does these things, and I'm just privileged to be a part of it.
You never have apologized for your faith, and that whatever gifts you have, they come from the Creator. You're just an instrument and a vessel for His good.
And I think that's one of the reasons that things have gone so well in my life. The book of Proverbs says, "Trust in the Lord with all your heart, lean not to your own understanding. In all your ways acknowledge Him, and He will direct your path." And He has directed my path. And He's directed them in a way much better than anything I could have done. And He is the source of all wisdom and all strength. And our country would do well to recognize that, because I believe one of the reasons that we rose to the pinnacle so much faster than anybody else in the world is because we acknowledged God. We believed in Him. We were not ashamed of Him. And now we have all the secular progressives who are trying to get rid of God. And I don't think it's just a coincidence that our country is spiraling downward.
Do you think it's too late?
I don't. I think we can re-grasp the values and the principles that made us into great people. We need to emphasize the good things. We don't need to be going around pointing fingers at everybody and saying, "That's why you're having a problem, because of that person." What we need to be doing is looking back at the good that this country has done. Look at the generosity that our country is noted for. Try to enhance that and encourage that. And that's always going to end up in a much better place than trying to divide people and to create fear and dissension. And that's not who we are as Americans. We need to recognize that, because when we're talking about health, we should be talking about health of our whole society and not just the health of the individual.
But isn't it, and I know I can tell you're getting near your destination, but isn't it, what'd you say, Dr. Carson?
Yes, I am.
Yes, well, you just let me know what. I just want to mention, but isn't it the history of the world that when people in their founding and when in their desperation, they find God, they worship, they believe in God, but yet something happens from one generation to the next generation, then from one century to the next century, and all of a sudden people totally abandon God and return to the tyranny that once engulfed them, that brought them to God in the first place, and then all of a sudden the unraveling of a country began, and it's very difficult to get that back?
It is difficult. It requires the right kind of leadership. But it doesn't mean, just because it's difficult doesn't mean it can't be and should not be done. And, difficulty is an opportunity for greatness.
It is. Your final thoughts, Dr. Carson, because it sounds like you're at your destination.
I am at my destination. My final thought is that the person who has the most to do with what happens to you in life is you. Accept that responsibility. Look at it as a privilege and make sure you make the best of it.
Dr. Carson, it's always a pleasure. Thank you so much for joining us. And how can somebody get the copy of your latest book?
Amazon.com is probably the easiest way. Barnes & Noble, various bookstores, but it's very easy to get. America the Beautiful.
And you're a best-selling author.
Along with my wife.
Along with Candy. Along with Candy. Well, Dr. Carson, thank you so much for joining us, and all the best.
Thank you. Thank
you. Take care now. Bye-bye. Shirley, I was listening. We were just talking to Dr. Carson. It's just a fascinating conversation about the advances in health. And they've got these systems now in the laboratory I was just amazed with, where they can literally, to stop malaria around the world, they have these kind of gun weapon where you can just shoot thousands of mosquitoes out of the sky at once and totally destroy them for the next generation. Just totally wipe them out of the sky. It's very expensive. But he was talking about the advance in medicine. And while I was talking to Dr. Carson, I couldn't help but think about you. He emphasized the importance of preventative care, exercise, becoming your own doctor, researching, dietary. It has to be an obsession. And, we've had you on the air many times, and you've talked about your health challenges, but I've seen you revitalized. I've seen you just totally become just a transformed person. I wanted you to emphasize a little what Dr. Carson just talked about, because to me, you have the credibility to talk about it, to talk about the importance of exercise and dieting and taking your medicine in your own hand. Shirley Dave.
Good morning, Armstrong. This is quite a surprise. First thing Monday morning he calls me, but I want to thank you, for giving me another opportunity to discuss my health problems, because I am a fighter. You have to be a fighter. You have to, no matter what your doctors say, if you have wonderful doctors, that's always a plus. But you always have to take your own life in your own hands at all times, no matter what is going on in your life. And that's exactly what I've done. I've taken it in take my medicines. I follow my doctor's advice. But it is important to exercise. And I know I fell off the truck a few times with exercising, but it gets a little expensive when you join the gym. So I found an alternative. I'm sure everybody's familiar with the WE, and they have a wonderful fitness program with the WE program, and I've been doing that. And it gives you a great workout. You can do yoga. You can do all kinds of exercises. And it really works. It shows your BMI. It tells you when you're overweight. It tells you how much weight you have to lose. And it really speaks to you. So that's an alternative. You just purchase the WE and purchase the fitness program. And I'm going to tell you, it is a good workout, so it keeps your your heart healthy, because that's exactly what I am about. And I consistently get on the website and look for recipes that are health, that are good for your heart. and they call them heart healthy recipes. So I'm on there all the time, and I'm getting these recipes, and I'm making these recipes at home, and they're really simple, they're good, and there's just nothing wrong with taking, your health into your own hands. So don't leave everything up to the doctors. You just have to have that will to live, and that's what it's mostly about, a will to live.
How exhausting, as you become older, to keep up this routine, because obviously it's one thing to do it when you're younger, but you must see it as a full-time job. It must require a lot of energy, a lot of focus, and yet a lot of sacrifice. Seriously, it had to sometimes just wear you out, but that's not an excuse to stop, because what is at stake? We're going to have an answer to that when we come back here on Armstrong Williams Show. You were just listening to Dr. Ben Carson, and now you're listening to Shirley Dave. I'm Armstrong Williams. We'll be back.
For more information on the Armstrong Williams Show, please visit our new website at www.RightSideWire.com. There you can find his syndicated column archive, view live streams, and get your favorite conservative pundits' views on the current issues affecting the American people. From building wealth to foreign policy, stay connected with Armstrong Williams and his colleagues at the all-new www.RightSideWire.com.
Anderson Brothers Bank, a family-owned and operated establishment that blends traditional personal service, local market awareness, and advanced technology to meet the financial needs of its customers. Visit abbank.com or call 843-464-6271 to see how they can assist you with your banking needs. Anderson Brothers Bank, celebrating 75 years of community banking, the way it should be. Stability right in your backyard since 1933.
High Point University has experienced unprecedented growth during the worst economic disruption in decades. This growth is driven by a university that focuses on holistic education, on experiential learning, and on values-based living. At High Point University, every student receives an extraordinary education in an inspiring environment with caring people. See what makes High Point University extraordinary at highpoint.edu.
Whether it's their impact on prison guards, law enforcement officials, business executives, employees, or marriage and relationships, Lorette is dedicated to changing the individual and institutions around the globe. Lorette's diverse network and training courses can help provide you with the tools you need to both wisely and confidently lead, manage, and supervise yourself as well as others. Lorette Business Network, a proven system for achieving success in your business and life. Please visit their website and begin this life-lasting journey with Lorette today. www.lorette.org.
To travelers along the road of life who have fallen asleep at the wheel, to the many who woke up in time to avert disaster and get back on the righteous path. For the ones who crashed and survived and now adhere vigilantly to a virtuous and righteous path. Finally, Armstrong Williams' much-anticipated new book, Reawakening Virtues, gives his insights into these daily challenges and much more. Reawakening Virtues is available in bookstores and at Amazon.com.
Where heads of state, sports, entertainment, and political celebrities meet. You're listening to Armstrong Williams.
I must tell you, I really learned something new today about the we. And I've had the we. I had no idea that was the case. But I look at you, and you're over 50, and I see it is certainly a struggle, even for going to the gym for myself, because I will soon be over 50. Listen, exercising is a lot of work, but yet these young people take so much for granted. But what does it take? And then I want you to talk more about, I was shocked to hear you talk about the WE program. I did not know that exists.
Well, what happens is, it does get harder. Your whole body changes. The older you get, it's something that is just going to happen. You just get, it's harder to do bends. It's harder to do a lot of things that you did when you were younger. So that's another reason that the we comes into play, because it's a very you can go at your own pace. That's the thing, and nobody's there making you go faster or whatever. And when you get tired, you can take a breather and get back up and start again. So yes, it is much harder, but you should always look for ways to exercise, no matter how old you get. I mean, sometimes I see women in their 80s and 90s still, turning flips, and that's because they were determined to keep their life, moving, and exercising does that, and you have to keep your life moving. Otherwise, you just become a vegetable. You just not healthy. And so I'm really happy that the week came out. I'm really happy with the exercise program. And not only does it have exercise program, fitness program, but it has sports. I love to play tennis. I can't get out on a regular tennis court anymore, but I can play tennis on the Wii. And it's so much fun. So, again, you just have to find ways, and if you don't find ways to do it, you just sit there and, become a couch vegetable, and you don't want to do that, because especially if you have heart problems, you got to keep moving. You got to make sure that, you take it easy. When you start getting out of breath, that's enough exercise for the day or for the moment. So just watch yourself. Take care of yourself, and be determined that you're going to do it without the doctors being on you every minute. Just take your own life into your own hands. That's my greatest advice.
How important is your faith and the fact that you don't apologize for having strong faith in God? You believe that's through your prayer, through your church, and through your pastor. So much of what you become in terms of overcoming, or at least taking on your health challenges dead on and in conquering it in many ways, it's just not about you. It's where you place your faith in life.
Well, I've always had, I was brought up in the church and as a kid, and so it was not hard for me to really have faith, but since I've been going to, I have a wonderful bishop. Bishop Frank L. Gibson III. He is just a wonderful bishop. He teaches. He doesn't preach to you. He teaches you. And every Sunday when I'm sitting there listening to his lessons, it's a lesson. It's like I'm going to school. And no matter how old you get and think that you know everything, you don't. It's so much to learn. You will never learn the Bible. You're going to always learn something new in the Bible. And I'm always learning something new, and I love his encouragement. He just consistently give us encouragement. Not only, everything he does, it relates to your life, everyday life. Everything he teaches us relates to your job. It relates to your health. He's always pushing fitness. He goes to the gym regularly. He eats really well, and he encourages us to do the same. He constantly, teaches us that life changes, and when life changes, you have to change with the change. You can't stay in the same box all the time. So I have really grown. Even my sister told me she has seen how much I have grown in this ministry. So I don't know what your religion is, but, if you have one, stay with it, go to church, learn, because it's a learning process. And if you want your life to grow, not only with exercise and fitness, get some spirituality in your life, because it really helps. It really helps you. It helps you with your health. So I don't know. I wouldn't give it up for anything.
What is your concern for young people today? Do you worry about them? Because they certainly don't have the kind of discipline, the work ethic, the training. They didn't grow up in the kind of loving environments that we grew up in. And yet, on many occasions, I just find that this generation just lost.
Yeah, I am concerned. We have a lot of young people in my church, and they're very young. And I'm really kind of looking at some of them and really proud that they are in the church and very active, and that they have such spirituality, but it's not enough of them. It's not enough young people in church. And I look at my niece, and she has 3 young boys, 9, 6, and 4, and you would not believe how they pray. She takes them to church, and she teaches them Bible stories. And one day I said to my little nephew, I said, both of them actually, the 9 and 6-year-old, at different times, I want you to bless the food. And they say wonderful prayers. They pray about not being on the street. They pray for the homeless. It is truly amazing. So that's her teachings. That's her teachings, her children, very young age, to believe in something, whether it's God or whatever you believe in. Have faith in something. And that's what I'm concerned about, that a lot of young people are not there yet, and they don't understand it, they don't get it. And I talk to young men that are in their 20s and, and talk to them about spirituality, and they say, oh, I don't believe. And, their lifestyles and things that have happened to them have turned them to such a point that they won't open their mind up to believe anything differently. So, it is a concern. It's a very big concern. And, they're the ones growing up that's supposed to lead this country. And I think that's something that we all should be concerned about.
I would be remiss if I didn't ask you to share with our audience just who you are, your professional track, that you work on the Hill, that you work for corporate America, and just the fact that you have been a quiet player on a corporate scene for such a long time.
Armstrong is, Armstrong, yes. I worked on the Hill for 6.5 years. It was one of the most wonderful jobs I've ever had, actually. I got so much experience. I met so many people that I didn't latch on to later in life, but it was a wonderful job. I learned so much about the legislative process, and I just loved my job. I had a great boss, and he was a really wonderful man from San Diego. And when he was unseated, it was a sad day, but, we moved on. And then, of course, I kept moving. I moved into corporate, and I spent 4.5 years at MCI, and that was a very, very, very wonderful job. I had some great bosses there, and I have no regrets. I've had so many wonderful jobs, and corporate America has taught me so much, and I think it's gotten me into the point where I'm always thinking corporately, and that's another thing. In my church, the bishop always is pressing that we do things in a corporate manner. And so if anybody's in corporate, they understand what I'm saying. They know what it's like to be in corporate America, and, the challenges, the competitiveness, and it teaches you to be a very strong person, because you have to be determined that you're going to make it. And so I've had some wonderful, wonderful opportunities. And I must say, I like my job here with Armstrong. I like working with the clients, and it's been a great experience for me here as well. So I've had a great life, and I have no complaints. So even though I have my health issues, I am getting through that too, and taking it in stride, and knowing that that's part of life. And so I don't know what else to say, Armstrong.
Well, none say it better than you. Just your final words on advice for people who are struggling to find jobs, struggling to find opportunities, how this economy has changed, what your struggles have taught you, and how you've always landed on your feet. Shirley Dave.
Well, I learned from my dad my mother and father had 11 children, and one thing that he always taught us to be self-sufficient and independent, and he never, ever went to the government or anybody for assistance. They grew their own food. My mother made our clothes. They were very industrious, and so I have that work ethic, to just maintain my independence. I just don't believe in depending on somebody else. I like that song by James Brown when he said, I don't want anybody to give me anything, just open up the door and I get it myself. And that's kind of been my struggle in life. Just show me and I'll take it to the next level. So that's the advice I give to everybody, just find some spirituality in your life and get that work ethic. You know, no matter what the situation is, always keep the work ethic. No matter if you don't like what you're doing, if you don't like your job, keep the work ethic.
Dr. Ben Carson, Shirley Dave, thank you both so much for joining us. I'm Armstrong Williams. So long.
High Point University has experienced unprecedented growth during the worst economic disruption in decades. This growth is driven by a university that focuses on holistic education, on experiential learning, and on values-based living. At High Point University, every student receives an extraordinary education in an inspiring environment with caring people. See what makes High Point University extraordinary at highpoint.edu.
Join the millions of Americans who pursue one of our country's finest traditions, from hunting to sport shooting. Since 1871, the NRA has grown as a service organization involved in all aspects of shooting sports and is a proud defender of the Bill of Rights. Join today to begin taking advantage of exclusive membership offers and discounts, including up to $25,000 in insurance coverage. Contact the NRA today. Call 1-800-672-3888 or visit nra.org. Anderson Brothers Bank, a family-owned and operated establishment that blends traditional personal service, local market awareness, and advanced technology to meet the financial needs of its customers. Visit abbank.com or call 843-464-6271 to see how they can assist you with your banking needs. Anderson Brothers Bank, celebrating 75 years of community banking, the way it should be. Stability right in your backyard since 1933.
Life is full of unexpected changes. Everyone has potential to do wrong. And when they choose to do it, contact the Bucksell Group for your private investigation needs. TheBucksellGroup.com or by phone at 202-243-9746. Whether there's an instance of a cheating spouse, child custody, process service, or security, don't continue suspecting. Get closure so that you can move on with your life. Visit TheBucksellGroup.com now or call 202-243-9746. If you think it's happening, it probably is.
America must change course if we hope to survive and save the American dream for our children and grandchildren. How do we fix Social Security and Medicare? How do we cut government spending? How do we reform health care? How do we simplify the tax code? The Heritage Foundation has a bold plan that tackles these tough problems using common sense solutions that leave partisan politics on the sidelines. Find out how we can save the American dream at savingthedream.org, paid for by the Heritage Foundation.
Does your school, team, church, or charity need a new fundraiser? Do you need to work out of your home or part-time? Are you a small business that can use an additional revenue stream? Then you need Yellow Llama. Do you need affordable web services or tools to enhance your existing business? Are you a graphic artist who wants to create a revenue stream with your art but not get ripped off? Then go to www.yellowllama.com.
Home of the sweet potato pie. Even the keenest taste buds will tell you the best food on the planet. Large enough to serve you and small enough to know you. So get the Henrys at 5431 Indian Head Highway, Oxon Hill, Maryland, or give us a call at 301-749-6856.
Soul food. Henry's Soul